guys, today I'm going to be doing my book review on Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. And I am wearing my Make Love Not Horcruxes shirt because references. I really should have gone to the bathroom before I started filming this. If that's TMI, I'm sorry, but my life. So if you guys don't know, Carry On is kind of like Bookception. It is a fan fiction based off of a character in a book who wrote it. This book is set in a magical world, which it hasn't really been said so much as implied, but it's basically kind of like Harry Potter if Harry Potter and Draco got together. Except for in this book, Baz kind of reminds me of a young Snape, but not the personality, just like the looks. So it's kind of a weird mashup. Simon and Baz have been roommates at Watford School of Magic since they got there when they were 11, and they are mortal enemies and they basically hate each other. It follows their story throughout their years. Most recently, their last year at Watford, something happens and they are forced to work together and try to figure out what is going on in this said magical world. Now, I am going to start off by saying I love Rainbow Rowell. She is really awesome. I love her writing. I loved Eleanor and Park. It was a beautiful book. And Fangirl was one of my favorite books of 2014, and it's, if not one of my top 10 favorite books of all time. So I love her writing and I love her stories and her characters. However, I didn't really love Carry On as much as I anticipated and I was hoping for. When I was reading Fangirl, I looked forward so much to these scenes with Simon and Baz in them. So when I discovered that she was writing a whole book about them, I was so excited. After finishing this book though, I found that I really enjoyed the scenes of Simon and Baz in Fangirl as opposed to Carry On. So I'm going to start with my gripes with the book and then end with the things that I liked about it, so that way we kind of end on a high note. So bottom line is I didn't really like this book. It was hard for me to pick it up and I found myself putting it down. I was easily distracted and quite frankly I was pleasantly bored. So I found a lot of reasons to put it down, do something else. And don't get me wrong, the story was good and when I was actually reading it I was engaged, but it took me a while to actually pick it up and like have the desire to actually read it. I wasn't turning the pages like crazy and I wasn't really invested too much in the story. Honestly, like it was a really weird feeling for me because I felt like there was a plot sometimes, but to be honest, this book is 500 and something pages, like 512, 15 pages long. And honestly, not like a ton happened. I felt like the characters were pretty flat, but in particular, I felt like Simon was super flat. I felt like he wasn't very developed as a character, especially for being the protagonist, the main one. I felt like he was kind of flat and didn't really do much to me. I didn't really know much of his backstory and it was really disappointing. And also there is a huge reveal in the book and it's not even written that he finds out. And like that was like a huge loose end for me and it really was disappointing. I did enjoy Penny's character. I thought that she was pretty funny, but sometimes it was really hard for me to get past like her bossy know-it-all attitude and it was really kind of annoying. My two favorite characters were Baz and Ebb. I loved those two characters and I would love to hear more about their story and their past, and I just found them extremely interesting and they did have depth and that really made me happy. Baz's sense of humor is so sarcastic and he's so full of himself and it's so funny and I very much relate to his dry, witty sense of humor, and so I really found myself connecting with him, which is why he was one of my favorites. Not to mention I really like Draco and so they kind of, you know. So the love story. The love story in this book confused me, and I don't know how much I liked it, how it started. I loved when they were enemies, and it was fine like after, you know, they were together, but the middle part was really forced, and it was really awkward because Baz was having some sort of issue. I don't want to spoil anything, but he was having some sort of issue, and basically Simon kisses him to stop him. That's it, and suddenly they're boyfriends. And it was really weird, and I was hoping for more of a build-up and more of a character development and more of a struggle between Simon, because he kind of was like, maybe I'm gay. I'm not going to think about it right now. And I wish there was more of like an internal struggle between, is he gay? Is he not? Like, what's going on? Am I just doing this because I'm stressed out? Like, I wish there was more of a personal growth with his character in terms of that. Okay, so the most distracting thing about this book was the spells. And I don't know if it was just me, because maybe she was trying to make them seem funny, but I found them extremely distracting, and when I read one, I rolled my eyes because it was so not funny and very cheesy. Like, for example, one of them was like up and away, one of them was clean as a whistle, one of them was like, please, please, please let me in. And like, just really weird. And also, I really wish I was kidding, but one of them was literally, you can't touch this. Like, and she spelled it with the U. It was so cringeworthy and so distracting. And they were in bold print and right in your face. And I just rolled my eyes because the story, especially like when there was a intense scene, and it was supposed to be very meaningful and emotional, and then you see like this, you can't touch this spell, and it was just really distracting and pulled me away from that mindset of being interested and engaging, and I really found it to be a huge distraction. So those were my main issues with the book. I still liked the imagination and the creativity of the world, and I really loved how there were different points of view all throughout the book, and many times switching during the points of view in the chapters, especially during scenes where like one person is finding out information while another one is fighting something, and so you slowly see them like figure it out and put it together in different points of view, and I thought that was really interesting and cool. As always with a Rainbow Rowell book, the writing was really beautiful, and I loved some of the jokes that she had in there. There was one where Simon was being referenced as a Pokemon, and that was really funny, and I found myself finding quotes, like paragraphs that were beautifully written and so pretty, and I wanted to put them in my quotes section of my journal, and I loved the writing and the prose, and it was very lyrical at times, and I really enjoyed that part of the book. Another thing I loved is I really felt like I was in the UK. The descriptions of how they called each other things, and like the names of certain things that we call something else here in the US, and I loved the descriptions of the food, which always made me hungry, which I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. The characters, even though they are in a supernatural, magical world, they still were vulnerable, and they had pain, and they could get hurt, and they weren't perfect, and they all did have a separate voice. And I loved that all of them had depth, minus Simon, of course, in my opinion, that they had a story and why they were so flawed. And I loved the Mage's story and Lucy's story, and it really pulled it together for me, and so I really enjoyed that part of the book. Overall, I did enjoy this book. I wish I could have rated it more along the 3.75 range, but I did give it a 4 because I want to correlate with Goodreads, and so to me it's more of like a 3.75, but I gave it a 4 on Goodreads, so there's that. Ultimately, I think my biggest mistake that I made was I compared it way too much to Harry Potter, and while it isn't obviously Harry Potter, there is so many references and so many nods that make you think of Harry Potter, and when it wasn't, you know, as great and amazing as Harry Potter was, I think I was a little disappointed, which is my fault. But I still feel like you guys should give it a go if you're thinking about trying it, or if it's on your bookshelf and you're interested in it. Definitely try it. I mean, it's worth a go, and let me know what you think. I wanted to show you the beautiful artwork that is on the book. So after you take the dust jacket off, there's this beautiful embossment of Simon and Baz in red. And there is the spine. It looks very beautiful. And on the inside is my favorite. It's a map of Watford. And it's so beautiful. So, so, so beautiful. And there's also this beautiful artwork. It says book 1, and there's more, but I don't, like, some of it's spoiler art. That is my review for Carry On by Rainbow Rowell. Let me know if you read it, what your opinions are. Leave them in the comments. And thank you guys so much for watching. My cat is busy doing something. And thank you guys, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.